Hi friends, Kiele here. This is one for the Naked series. And basically, I have a new area where my mindset practices are proving to be incredibly valuable, right? So when I started this coaching journey, I knew that they were transformational, when it came to finding peace of mind, learning how to navigate more effectively. And for me, that originally was in the context primarily of my law practice and my business. But as I've gone forward with coaching and mentoring, and I've found all kinds of other ways that it helps people, including, I think my favorite to date that was new to me was a client who actually managed to conquer a health challenge. Like, she actually has a debilitating illness, and using the mindset practices that I taught her and mentor her around actually caused her to have improved test results, like medical test results. So anyway, the thing that I wanted to mention today that I kind of just realized, this is in my own little silo, but because of a conversation I'm having with another friend, I just realized this is yet another area where it's super powerful, and that's this. This is a little bit personal, but that's okay. It has to do with my own life and my own mess and whatnot. So the deal is that I am working on my own divorce pro se, meaning, for those of you who are not lawyers, that means I'm doing the legal work myself, which is not ideal. I do not recommend, do not try this at home. And honestly, it's because of where I am in the transition from shutting down my law firm, which is almost completely done. I have just one case left that I'm serving out, and then, launching my coaching practice and working on building that out and so forth. And so I'm not really yet in a place where I honestly have the cash to hire a great family lawyer to help me. Now, one thing I do have in my corner, two things I should say that I have in my corner are, of course, my own experience, extensive experience as a litigator, and I actually am a badass litigator, if I do say so myself. That said, it's still inadvisable to represent yourself if you've got an option, alternative, even if you're a great litigator, and especially if, like me, family law is not your thing, right? That was not my niche. My superpowers had to do with domestic violence defense and getting dismissals in criminal cases, right? But it does still mean I have some extraordinary tools available to me. And then the other thing that I have available to me that makes a huge difference is a very good friend who's an awesome family lawyer and who volunteered early on when things kind of fell apart in terms of the negotiating and working on our divorce pro se that my ex and I had been doing. And he hired an attorney and filed an amended petition, and now we're in court and we're duking it out, and it's ugly, right? So, but I am in a position where I really do need to handle the work myself, and thankfully this friend is helping me. And she volunteered early days, and said, Kiele, please let me help you. Call me when you have questions. I'll provide forms, and I would really like to review your pleadings before you file them, pleadings and motions and so forth. So that's where I am. And long story short, it was still extremely triggering to do the work, right? And it was like the initial disclosures, the very first, thing that I really had to do significant work on, that was so triggering and making me feel, I started feeling downtrodden and insecure and anxious and overwhelmed and, all the things. It was stirring up all the things. And thankfully, because of the extensive work I've done in terms of mindset mastery, I noticed that. And it was basically a sign, to me, that I needed to make extra time to do mindset work. In other words, lean more heavily into my daily practices and other tools, so that I could not only process and move through those emotions, but also create a different context for the work that I needed to do. And what's really fucking awesome about that is I'm starting to see the benefit. And so instead of feeling all those, yucky negative feelings, I'm starting to feel uplifted and energized, and even fulfilled oddly, by the work that I am required to do on my own divorce. And I never really expected, I mean, in hindsight, it makes sense because that's the way that Mindset Mastery works. That's the way that these tools work. When you actually employ them effectively, then, something that previously was shitty and yucky and awful becomes something different. You can create a completely different experience just by using your tools, just by making these shifts and adjustments in the way that you think and actually what you're believing about the circumstances and the work. So that was the thing that I'm experiencing, but I'm in the middle of it. So I hadn't really had an opportunity to think about how powerful it was until I was speaking with a friend who, actually she'd responded to a message I sent her where I was planning to do a happy hour for a group of other attorney moms, and it's actually our divorce subgroup. So those of us in my attorney mom group who are going through, have been through, et cetera, separation, divorce, and so forth. And it's just a group to provide, support, camaraderie, and so forth to one another, and a safe place, a safe zone. So we get to we get together for lunch periodically, and that's been just fantastic. So I was following up as the sort of de facto leader of that group with her and saying, hey, I know at the last lunch we talked about having a happy hour, and she had actually very graciously volunteered her home for it. And I just haven't been able to follow through on that. And primarily because of all the work I'm having to do on my divorce. It takes a lot, if you're going to handle it correctly, or as correctly as I can, I should say, without that being my area of practice. And so, her response was very awesome, and, also prompted me to reassure her about how well I'm actually doing with it. And that's what made me think about, oh, holy shit, I have found another area where this work makes a huge difference in like the ordinary, but big challenges, life challenges that so many of us end up having to go through. So that is all. I just thought I'd hop on here and share in the vein of the, Naked series, and letting you guys know, what you can do with these tools. And that's it. I've got more coming, but really I do have to stay focused on this as my main priority right now. I have a hearing coming up, and obviously being prepared for that hearing so that I can advocate for my children and for myself is like, priority number one. That's all. I hope this was useful for you in some way. Thanks for staying with me to the end, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye now.